If you're just getting started in business, you need to understand the principle of front loading. Hey, what's up? Rafael Cortez back on the Entrepreneur Mindset series. Let's talk about the principle of front loading. What is that? When you're starting a business, you're doing this whether you realize it or not, right? And front loading, it's actually carrying on a whole set of actions, a whole bunch of activity, and building, the beginnings of a business. So that's when it starts taking shape. You start to figure out who to call, who to reach out to, who your vendors are going to be, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, right? There's a couple of things that play into this space of front loading. You're going through the learning curve. You're trying to put together your business plan. You're going through trial and error, figuring out what works, figuring out what doesn't work. If it's retail, if it's digital, it doesn't matter. There's still gonna be a period of trial and error there. And most importantly, you're going through the changes of mindset and you're getting more keen with emotional intelligence, right? So there's a lot of things that happen during your front loading phase. And what's happening here is that you're front loading the work. All right, so you're front loading the work, and the crazy thing is that you feel like you're not doing anything. But think about it. It takes about 90 days on average to solidify any given habit. Why would it be any different for your business? Front loading your actions may feel like you're running around like a crazy person. You're doing this, you're doing that, and you're putting together things that you feel might turn up into something, and eventually they don't. So it's, again, trial and error, right? So it's a lot of doingness and not necessarily so many results, right? You have to give it time to work. Throughout this process, through the whole front loading process, you're growing as a person, you're growing as an entrepreneur, you're growing as an individual, you're getting new challenges, and it's like drinking water from a fire hose, right? It's just, at full capacity, it's being thrown at you, and a lot of times it can be a lot to consume because you're trying to figure out, again, marketing, you're trying to figure out your system. You want to kick it off with the perfect strategies in place and already begin hiring premature. There's a lot of things that happen while we're starting to build a business, all right? This whole time, this whole period is front loading, especially if you're bootstrapping the business, meaning that you don't have a lot of funding and you're doing everything yourself. So understand the principle of front loading. It's gonna feel like you're spinning your wheels. It's gonna feel like you're running around like a crazy person with no results, but that is not the case, all right? Take your wins, figure out what wins you had on a daily basis, and understand that you are going through a growing process. When people say the growing pains of business, front loading works the same way as time under tension. It's the same principle, right? The more that you last in an environment where you're pushing up against it and learning from it and growing your entrepreneurial muscle, the better you're gonna be at things, right? So this is the part that matters. Knowledge is not the same as experience. You may come in with 50 books under your belt, but until you're in the trenches, until you're actually front loading all that work and you're actually doing and taking the steps and taking the actions and having that consistency in place, you will not feel what the real challenge of building a business is, right? So just understand that you're gonna be in a front loading phase for a while. Right? So before the big results kick in, before you have, the contracts, before you have the employees, before you have the business model, before you have all that stuff, there's gonna be a front loading phase where you're just front loading the work. So it's literally putting in the work into your business and sometimes feeling like you're not getting anything out. You're front loading. You have to give it enough time to work. So understand this, during your startup phase, during the front loading phase, you're gonna need to get organized. If you're not naturally inclined to be organized, this is where it matters, right? Anything that you're learning that's new, you're gonna have to get organized, find a place to put it in, find a place to be a little bit more systematic about everything that you do, okay? You can't just throw spaghetti on the wall and expect things to pan out, because that's how you stay on the front loading phase for years and years and years, all right? So be a little bit more methodical, become organized, do whatever you need to do to get more organized with everything that you're learning, building your processes, trial and error. This is where it comes in handy. You see one thing that doesn't work, you come in and tweak it, and then you do it and you turn it into something else. The next thing that you're gonna need is implementation, action, all right? You can't get anywhere if you don't take action. And as redundant and as that may sound, action and the third one being consistency, those two are the ones that are gonna get you out of the front loading phase onto the space where you actually have results, where you start getting paid, where you start onboarding clients, where you start getting deals under contract, where you start figuring out what marketing works, all right? So just be aware that at the beginning, there's always gonna be a period of front loading. And you're front loading your actions, you're front loading your work. It doesn't mean that you're gonna live there and stay there forever. It doesn't mean that results are never gonna come at you. All it means is that you're growing as an individual, you're growing as an entrepreneur. You're putting the hours in, you're putting the effort in, and inevitably, that's gonna turn into results, all right? Once you get out of the front loading zone into the happy place that we call entrepreneurship. So challenges don't stop, they won't stop coming at you, but the foundations are gonna be built at that point, all right? So keep that in mind. Ask yourself, am I still in the front loading phase? If you are, give it time to work. If you're not, systemize your approach so you can't get out of it, all right? If you like the video, make sure that you share it, you subscribe, stay focused, you got this.